not sure about the other people. So, noon pa lang nakita natin mga kameta, just days after the victory of Marcos Jr., nakita natin the unit team was perhaps not as unit team as some people wanted it. Or it was a unit team on Marcos terms. Now, we also said mga kameta na there's not only one person, but one force, one pole of politics to watch out for. Noong time na hindi pa siya ganun ka-clear. Pero now it's becoming very clear. I'm talking about the Tulfo pole in Philippine politics. Now, I'm thinking about writing an essay, proper essay about it, and then let's see later on, siguro interview natin sila, Senator Rafi, or na-interview ko na si Erwin, di ba, last year, nag-ano na kayo, you can find it on Spotify, YouTube, etc. Now, the Tulfos were friends with the Dutertes. They're also now friends with Marcos, but they're actually their own force. They're an independent force on their own. And nakita natin, Rafi Tulfo until the last moment was number one for the Senate. And usually if you're number one in the Senate race, you're in a good position to run for the higher office, including the presidency. No? Now, Rafi ended up number two. But we see over the next year, since he became the senator, he clearly is effectively like the senior senator, the most prominent senator, and dun sa mga surveys nakita natin, the most popular senator. By far. No one comes even close, right? Now, we saw also the latest surveys, mga kameta, right, which show that, in fairness, Leni has a good chance if she wants to run for Senate. A number of many people from the opposition have a good chance to run for Senate. Tatay Digong may have a very good chance of becoming senator if he wants to run for Senate. But actually, the ones who's going to top the Senate race and get 23, 24 million votes, whatever, it's another Tulfo, Erwin Tulfo, who's right now a congressman and who I believe as a DSWD secretary did pretty well. Again, just to be very clear, I'm not fan of the trial by publicity, the Tulfo style of justice, etc. throughout the years. I mean, I've had my own reservations about it, but at the same time, I'm someone who's fair, someone who's objective. If you do something good, I'll give you credit. And I think if you look at Senator Erwin Tulfo, I think he did a very good job as a DSWD secretary. And as far as Senator Rafi Tulfo is concerned, he also has done a very good job on multiple fronts. Hindi siya opposition, but there were times that he very much reinforced and echoed the concerns of oppositions, including concerns raised by Rizal and Diveres, whether dun sa national grid natin na masyadong malaking influence ng China, whether sa land grabbing issue natin, whether even sa Marlica issue na paggamit sa SS pension fund. Hindi siya opposition, so he's not gonna say totally no to everything that Marcos or the key legislative priorities of Marcos, but he stood his ground, and I think many people began to really appreciate what he brings to the table. And then dun sa sugar importation, smuggling, dun sa maraming kalokohan na nangyari, nakita natin na Senator Rafi Tulfo very much shed light on yung mga kalokohan na nangyari sa loob ng gobyerno and beyond. Now, if you look at the survey on SWS, number one ranked, Erwin Tulfo, 32% of the votes that means close to 24 million votes in quantitative terms. If he were to run today, if the elections were held today, he could expect up to 24 million votes. Number one, ahead of Digong, ahead of Pia Cayetano, ahead of Bongo, ahead of Pacquiao. Now, we know that there is a non-aided survey version whereby Pacquiao actually comes on top, but Erwin Tulfo is still more or less within top 5. So that just tells you how influential they are. Now, we can see, I doubt Jejomar Bina is going to run again. I'm not very sure about that. I'm not sure about Lito Lapid too. I'm also not sure about Vico Soto. So Vico Soto also is pasok siya dun sa Magic 12. But I'm not sure he's gonna. I think he wants to do the 3 terms, consolidate, and then move on to the next. Potentially even as a congressman, because that way he can better protect yung legacy niya by supporting and literally protecting his folks in the government, because alam niyo naman yung situation dun sa Pasig, di ba? But you can see Mar Rojas, Leni Robredo, etc., they're just at the tip of the Magic 12, right? Not too far from Bong Revilla, from Isko Moreno, etc. So it's quite interesting. So a lot of opposition figures, in fact, Lenny or Maros even ranks higher than Gatchalian, right? And some of the incumbents, way higher than Francis Tolentino, another incumbent, right? Way higher than Ralph Recto, for instance, right? Um, so this is a quite an interesting, fluid, competitive situation. Riza Andreves doesn't need to run because she just won last year, so she'll be there safe until 2028. No, so there's very good chance of multiple opposition candidates getting into Magic 12 for the next elections 2025. But again, aided and non-aided, Erwin Tulfo is very much almost sure shot siya to be in the Magic 12, and he has probably more than 50% chance to even top the race, especially if Digong doesn't run. And I won't be surprised even Manny Pacquiao may reconsider things, right? But looks like Manny Pacquiao wants to come back. And then base sa alam ko, parang there are even discussions about a Manny Pacquiao Tulfo kind of a team up down the road. Especially if Tulfo is doing better in the service back then maybe Manny Pacquiao can be the vice presidential candidate of Tulfo. So very interesting dynamics we're seeing. Now, obviously, maraming pwede mangyari before now and then, no? But what I'm saying, mga kameta, is as early as now nakikita natin na yung 60% majoritarian unit team base, hindi natin siya nakikita. Because Sara got 28%, which is good, puts her ahead of everyone else. But this is barely a third of the total vote. And that tells you vast majority of the voters are still open to other options. And Tulfo comes second, but with the margin of error 3 to 5%, he could also be tied with Lenny Robredo. And this is exactly what we said before. Tulfo coming into the race not only makes it difficult for Sara to have this easy and essentially seamlessly, but this also opens up the space for third candidates, and particularly from the progressive opposition like Lenny Robredo or Rizal Tiveros, whoever between them wants to run. I'm just surprised lang nilagay si Sandro doon, considering Sandro will not be 40 years old or more by 2028. I don't know. But anyway, pwede natin pag-usapan yan. And let me be absolutely clear, I will rather check SWS than Google Trends or whatever, right? Okay, let's be very honest about it. Sorry na lang sa mga friends natin na Google Trends. Now, these are the things I'm going to look at. They're not perfect, but we're going to triangulate them. Now, we saw actually, dun sa a little bit less credible online survey na ginawa earlier this year, ganun din ang lumabas. Sara on top, Tulfo, and then one of the opposition candidates potentially there in the mix for third, Risa or Lenny, etc. So we can see that the surveys are actually showing a similar trend line here. Now, this is 2023, so many things can change until 2028. But what I'm saying is, by many accounts, the TULFOS could be a really independent pole of power in the Philippines. And that is actually also a good thing for the opposition because it makes it sure, because it's ascertains the fact that there's no longer a unit team rallying behind a potential Sara presidential run. So, fluid, dynamic, competitive, very interesting. Very interesting. Now, if your expectation of what could happen in 2028 is changing, now, ay hindi na ako sure na ito manalo, that also affects how you interact with these peoples as early as now. So in game theory, it's called shadow of the future. So for instance, if you think China is the next superpower in the 10 years, ngayon pa lang tataya ka na sa China. Pero kung biglang malaman mo, ay hindi pala ganun kalakas ang China at yung economy na pababa, ay hindi, medyo doon na tayo sa US pa rin, di ba? Parang ganun ang calculation, shadow of future, right? It's exactly the same when it comes to domestic politics, mga kameta. So expectations about what could be the lay of the land come 2025, 2026, 2028, it's going to impact the kind of coalitions, realignments, and the political capital of key figures in Philippine politics as early as now. All right? Now, we had an article on Nikkei Asia just the other day looking at how China, the China factor, explains a lot of realignments and internal fault lines we're seeing as far as the ruling coalition is concerned. Pag-usapan natin separately yan. But today, more or less, we covered two topics. So, bumawi ako for kahapon na I was not able to join you guys due to other commitments. All right? Maraming salamat mga kameta, and thank you very much, and God bless you. Thank you. Ay, wait lang. Thank you ako dun sa... Nasaan ba yung iba? Nasaan ba kayo? Ayan, thank you again kay Fauzia Shaw. Thank you very much. Eden Olonan, Christina Nunez, Ma'am Justin Lumberry, as always. Riz Annie, Moller, Lilibet, thank you very much for joining us. Madrigal Heya, Norjeline Dalmasio, yan, Kathy Sanada, Marisa Baloy, Mia Fresnido, yan, maraming nagmamahal sa atin. Mari Samson Sky High, yeah, represent. Thank you very much. Have a good day and God bless you guys.